To make a diagonal block to join across this corner, you'll need 6 cards. In addition, I've also got a bunch of spare normal cube units. These will be to patch over sides that are loose. Depending on what you're building, you may either end up with loose sides that need to be covered, or you may be building additional cubes on. So this will depend on the structure that you're building. So the first 2 units are just normal cube cards. These will go inside here to smooth over these 2 surfaces, and it doesn't matter what color they are because they will be covered. Then you'll need to take 2 cards, line them up at the corners, and then open them up until you've got a little exposed area here, keeping them square to each other. And you have to kind of eyeball it. For me, for these 2" by 3.5" cards, about 1/2 inch or about 1.4 centimeters has been working well for me. But you may need to experiment a bit and figure out exactly the distance that's right for you. So then you're going to fold over only the long sides of each of these. So long side of this one goes over, long side of this one comes back. Set those aside. The last 2 will be folded in mirror image of each other, and they will be diagonals. You'll be folding a 45-degree angle here. So fold one this way. A little hard to fold business cards like this. This is why I'm using these cards instead of the red ones, because they're a little softer and easier to work with. So it's important that these are mirror images of each other. All right, now we're ready to begin. The first step is to cover over these flaps with smoothing cards. So this goes into this notch here. This goes under the tabs at the top. And the other smoothing card slots in here and here. Next, we'll take one of these L-shaped pieces, and it's going to go under, so that you'll have on the sides of your L, you'll have flaps running perpendicular to it and flaps running parallel to it, if that makes sense. So in the parallel ones, just slot this in, the long side goes in, and it will overlap a little bit, and depending on where this is in your model, you may actually end up wanting to trim about 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more, off the bottom of your long side of these L-shaped cards, or you can get it to slot in. It's a little hard to force this if there are other cubes built up around here. It's a little hard to force this in between them, so you can either dismantle some of the cards to get it in and then rebuild them, or build them in the right order so that you've done this first, or do what I've been doing and just trim off the bottom. And then the other L-shaped card is going to go in and end up shaped like this. So it slides in under this smoothing card. You may end up wanting to put it in before the smoothing card. In fact, that's what I'll do. Remove the smoothing card, slide it in, and again, if this were in some hard to reach part of a model, you might just want to trim off the bottom edge of this L-shaped card. In this case, I have access, and I can just wiggle it a little bit until it slides in between these 2 cubes. It's also easier with thinner or shinier cards. There we go. And then we line it up so that the bend in the card lines up right with the edge here. And I will put this smoothing card back on. Okay. Next, we take the 2 angled cards. Now, how do we know which side to put which one on? So next to the space that we're trying to fill, we have some flaps with a gap that comes up to meet the place we're trying to fill, and we have flaps that don't come up to meet. We want to use the ones that are coming up to meet it. So you figure out which one of your 2 angle cards fits down into that slot with its flap facing in, and that's where you put it. So this slides down into here, right, until the point is about up the top here. And then the other one will just go in mirror on the other side. Now, closing these up is a little like closing a cardboard box. You need to weave them together, and then point. You can fiddle with how you want the point. It will work in a couple of different ways, but that is the basic structure. And then, depending on what you're doing, there might be another cube here, or if this is going to be an outside edge, you will want to smooth this over because there's a little bit of force on those flaps wanting to push them open. So those want to get flattened down. This here should get flattened down. And the other really important one is the top one. Anything where there are now extra cards slid under should be flattened. And there is your diagonal joiner. You can use this to make shapes like this. So you can see I've taken this, built out a cube here and here, and then joined them up into, what is this, an octagon? And then done that in all 3 dimensions. And this is a sort of a ball, and it's quite sturdy. These edge connections hold together pretty well. This is not the only way to do diagonals, but it's the one I know the best and the one that I prefer to use.